Hey Mets fans, Brian here at Mets Mayhem. The New York Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals played Game 3 of their 4-game series on Saturday afternoon. The Mets came into the game 13-7, sporting their gray City Connect jersey, going up against the St. Louis Cardinals, coming into this game with a record of 9-11. Senga took the mound for the Mets, and he was opposed by the Cardinals lefty Matthew Liberatore. Let's get into it. Lars Nootbaar back in the lineup for the Cardinals and leading off against Senga. Senga gets Nootbaar to pop up to shortstop for the first out. Willson Contreras moved up in the lineup to the second slot. Goes first pitch hunting and reaches for an outside fastball. Lines it to Soto in right field, so now we have 2 outs. Brendan Donovan playing left field in this game, batting third. He homered in his last at bat in the top of the 9th inning. To briefly tie that game 4-4 before Lindor's heroics in the bottom of the 9th. Senga gets ahead of Donovan 0-2 and then gets him the ground out to Luis Angel Acuna, thrown over to Alonso for the third out. So Matthew Liberatore on the mound for the Cardinals. He's facing Francisco Lindor to lead off for the Mets. Fresh off his walk-off home run yesterday, Liberatore gets Lindor on a strikeout, swinging on a down and in slider for the first out. Juan Soto's up next, and he falls behind 1-2 before reaching for a down and away slider. He pulls it right to Gorman at second base for the second out. And then Liberatore gets ahead of Pete Alonso 1-2 before getting him to pop up to Gordon to end the first inning. Yoel Poza hits a routine line drive to center field that Jose Azocar, making the start in center field for the Mets, flags down for the third out. So Nolan Arenado leading off the top of the second inning, and Senga gets him to take an outside slider the other way, but playable for Soto for the first out. Alec Burleson up next, and he works the count full before laying off the ghost forkball. Is out of the zone, so he walks. Now the Cardinals have a runner on first base and 1 out. Thomas Sagasi swings at the first pitch he sees and hits a double to left field. So now Burleson moves to third base. We have second and third and 1 out. So the Cardinals have something going here. Nolan Gorman at the plate. Senga gets behind 2-0. Then he throws 3 consecutive ghost forks and he strikes Gorman out for the second out. Yoel Poza then comes up with 2 outs, runners at second and third, and he hits a routine line drive to center that Jose Azocar, making his first start for the Mets, flags it down. That's the third out. Mark Viento's leading off against Liberatore, and he gets ahead in the count 31 before grounding out to Arenado at third base for the first out here in the bottom of the second inning. So Sterling Marte goes first pitch hunting. He lines a sinker at the bottom of the zone right at Victor Scott, however, so that's the second out. Brandon Nimmo's now up. He has 2 outs, no one on, and he lines a 2-2 sinker to left field for a base hit. Brandon really needs these hits to build his confidence up. He's struggling. He's gotten a couple of hits recently, so hopefully this is him kind of getting out of the funk, because right now he's not contributing much to this lineup, and this lineup will lengthen if Brandon is able to contribute more. So, speaking of someone who's contributing, Luis Torrens has been fantastic with Alvarez out. He's up next, but Liberatore strikes him out on a 2-2 slider outside of the strike zone, is down and in, and that ends the inning. Senga gets a nice crisp third inning, retiring the Cardinals in order. He gets Victor Scott II to pop out to Mark Vientos for the first out. Lars Nootbaar then struck out on a ghost fork for the second out. And then Senga got Willson Contreras to fly out to Lindor to take us to the bottom of the third inning. Now in the bottom of the third inning, the Mets get on the board. Luis Angel Acuna leads off by getting a double on a line drive to center field. Jose Azocar recently recalled and starting in center field, then grounds out to shortstop. Acuna has to hold. The Mets have a runner on second base with 1 out now. Francisco Lindor at the plate. Lindor grounds out on a 1-0 fastball up in the zone. Hits the ball to third base to Arenado, who fires across the diamond to Contreras. Acuna has to hold at second. So now it's 2 outs. Acuna at second base. Liberatore is trying to get out of this inning unscathed, but Juan Soto hits a hard ground ball right up the middle, drives in Acuna, gives the Mets a 1-0 lead. Looks like Soto is starting to come out of it. He got a couple of hits the day before. Pete Alonso follows that. He's still hot. And he hits a line drive to left center field in the gap that scores Soto all the way from first base. That gives them a 2-0 lead now. Now the Cardinals and Liberatore are able to get out of it without giving any more runs. They get Mark Vientos to pop up to Gorman at second base, and that ends the inning. This is what I'm talking about. If Soto and Alonso both can start to get going, this lineup's going to be incredibly dangerous. So Soto got a big RBI yesterday's game. He got an RBI in this game to put the Mets on the board. And Alonso still remains hot. He hits a double to left center field. Soto is actually doing pretty well on the bases, better than I expect from him. 2 outs. He's running on the pitch, but he scores easily for first base. 2-0. Mets goes to the top of the fourth. So now Senga staked to a 2-0 lead in the top of the fourth inning, and he faces Brendan Donovan. Donovan leads off and hits a line drive opposite field screamer to the left side. Vientos leaps off his feet, catches the ball, so that's the first out. Senga then gets to a 2-2 count on Arenado before striking him out on a ghost fork. Senga then gets to a full count again on the next batter, Alec Burleson, but he gets him to fly out to Nimmo in left field for the third out. So Liberatore is looking to bounce back in the bottom of the fourth inning with a quick inning of his own, and he gets just that. He gets Sterling Marte, Brandon Nimmo, and Luis Torrens all to strike out. 3 up, 3 down for the Mets. That takes us to the top of the fifth. So we move on to the top of the fifth inning, and Brett Baty has to come in the game to play third base. Mark Vientos had to leave the game. There was no word initially on what was going on, but later on it was stated the reason why Vientos left the game. He was experiencing groin discomfort. After the game was over, Vientos said it was his fault for not hydrating properly. He feels he's going to be fine. This will definitely bear watching, as Vientos is likely to miss a couple of days at minimum. Hopefully he avoids the IL. With McNeil due to come back soon, I was hoping that both Baty and Acuna would force the Mets' hands to stay on this roster, and McNeil would come up and Azocar would be the one to go back down. If Vientos is not healthy, if he needs to be out for an extended period of time, that may be the route that happens. Hoping it's not the case. But let's get back to the game. Thomas Sagasi leading off against Senga, and Sagasi hits a fly ball double to right field, his second double of the game. With a runner on second and no one out, Nolan Gorman up, trying to get the Cardinals on the board. Kodai Senga bounces the first pitch curve for a wild pitch. So now Sagasi's on third base, but Senga's able to strike out Gorman in a 2-2 forkball. So that's the first out. Yohel Poza now up, and he hits a low one hopper to Baty, who just came on this inning. The ball always finds you. He fields the ball. He fires a strike home to Luis Torrens. Perfect throw. Torrens catches it. He makes the play, tagging out Sagasi at home. So fielder's choice. Sagasi is erased. Pozo's on first base. 2 outs. That brings up Victor Scott II, and Senga works him away the entire at bat. He falls behind 3-1, and then he gets him to fly out on a cutter on the outer edge of the plate, and that's the third out. Besides the bottom of the third inning, Liberatore is matching Senga pretty much this whole game, and he gets the Mets down in order in the bottom of the fifth inning. He gets Luis Acuna to ground out to Sagasi at short, Jose Azocar to fly out to Lars Nootbaar in right, and Francisco Lindor hits a weak ground ball right back to the pitcher, who throws over to Contreras, and that ends the fifth inning. Top of the sixth inning, Mets still up 2-0, Senga still on the mound, and Lars Nootbaar is the leadoff batter. He works the count full before drawing a leadoff walk. And Wilson Contreras then lines a single to center field. That puts the runners on first and second. No one out. Brendan Donovan's up now. He works the count to 2-2. Fouls several pitches back. And on the 10th pitch of the at-bat, Senga gets him to ground a down and away slider right to Acuna, who tosses to Lindor covering at second, then fires over to Alonso at first for a double play. Big pitch, big play. Mets are now 1 out from getting out of trouble, but Senga falls behind Nolan Arenado 2-1 before losing control and hitting him with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Now we got runners on first and third. The Mets go to the bullpen. Reed Garrett comes on in relief for Senga, and he gets Alec Burleson to ground out to Acuna. At At second base, he throws over to Alonso, and the Mets escape the top of the sixth inning. In the bottom of the sixth, Juan Soto hits a hard ground ball up the middle for a base hit. Pete Alonso then lines a 2-0 changeup just off the plate to right field. Pete just missed this, one out. Soto on first, Beatty at the plate. Soto then picks up his second stolen base of the season, putting him in scoring position. Beatty walks on 4 straight pitches, so we have first and second, one out. The Cardinals continue to roll with Liberatore, and it pays off. He gets Starling Marte to fly out to Newbar in right, Brandon Nimmo to fly out to Donovan in left, and that ends the sixth inning. The Mets threaten, but they do not score. Reed Garrett's still on the mound for the Mets, top of the seventh inning, and he gets a pretty easy inning, getting the Cardinals in order. Thomas Sagasi grounds out to Beatty at third. Nolan Gorman grounds back to Garrett, and Yoho Poza lines one right to Alonso for the third out. Luis Torrens leading off against Liberatore, who's still in this game in the bottom of the seventh inning. He lines the ball off of Liberatore's glove. The ball deflects and goes right to Gorman up the middle. Gorman fields it. He throws over to Contreras at first, and that's one out. Liberatore then freezes Acuna on a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, dead center, thigh high. Acuna must have been expecting an off-speed pitch, but that's 2 outs now for the Mets. Now, Jose Azocar then gets his first hit as a Met, singling on a ground ball to the right side. So Azocar on first, 2 outs. Francisco Lindor due up. The Cardinals then go to the bullpen. They bring on John King in relief of Liberatore. King throws 1 pitch, gets 1 out, getting Lindor to ground 1 to Arenado, who throws over to Gorman at second base, and that forces out Azocar to end the inning. Reed Garrett did his job. He got 2 scoreless innings. He passed the baton over to A.J. Minter in the top of the 8th inning. The formula of Garrett, Minter, and Diaz is what the Mets drew up this offseason. Minter comes on, and he has a very weird inning. He started off by walking Lucan Baker on 4 straight pitches. The Cardinals then pinch run for Baker with Michael Ciani. So we have a runner on first, no one out. Lars Nootbaar comes up to the plate. Minter gets Nootbaar to ground the 1-1 cutter to Acuna at second base, who throws over to Alonso for the first out. So now the Cardinals have a runner on second and 1 out. Wilson Contreras comes to the plate. This time Minter goes to a full count before losing Contreras and walking him. So now the Cardinals have first and second and 1 out. And they have Brendan Donovan coming to the plate, and he grounds an 0-1 cutter low and out of the zone straight to Acuna at second base. Acuna throws over to Lindor at second. That forces out Contreras. Ciani moves to third. Brendan Donovan safe at first on the fielder's choice. So now there's 2 outs. The Mets just need 1 more out to get out of this inning. And Minter loses control again. He walks Arenado on a 3-1 fastball. And really, he missed every single pitch. He got 1 generous call. So now the bases are loaded, 2 outs. Alec Burleson up for the Cardinals. The Cardinals are looking to get a big hit here to get in this game. The Mets are looking to turn the Cardinals away yet again. Burleson goes after Minter's first pitch. Grounds out right to Lindor. Fires the ball to Alonso at first for the third out. Cardinals threaten but do not score. Mets bullpen doing their job yet again. Juan Soto leads off in the bottom of the 8th inning, and he grounds out on the first pitch to Gorman at second for the first out. Pete Alonso then crushes a 2-2 slider over 430 feet to left field for his 6th home run of the year. That's the polar bear, baby. 6 home runs. Alonso's on fire. 3-0 Mets. Let's go. Beatty comes to the plate, and he grounds the first pitch to Arenado at third base, who fires over to Contreras. Now the Mets have 2 outs. Starling Marte then comes up, and he grounds an 0-2 pitch to right field for a base hit. Brandon Nimmo up. Marte steals second base. The Cardinals challenge. The call is upheld. Runner still in second base. 2 outs. Nimmo up, but he strikes out on an 0-2 slider down out of the zone. The Mets get turned away. And the baton is passed again from Minter to Diaz now. Edwin Diaz on the mound trying to save this game. Diaz walked the leadoff man in his last 3 outings. He goes 3-2 in this one to Sagasi leading off before getting him to look at a fastball outer corner, first out. Diaz then goes 3-2 on Nolan Gorman as well. before getting him on a nasty down and in slider that just dropped out of the zone for the second out. And then Yohel Pozo grounds out to Alonso, takes the ball to first base. That's 3 outs. Game's over. Mets win. So takeaways from this game. Mets win this game 3-0. They move to 7 games over 500 at 14-7. The Cardinals drop to 9-12. The Mets Mayhem player of the game is Kodai Senga. Senga picked up the win. He's now 3-1 of the season. His ERA is 0.79. Senga's pitching line for the game is 5 2/3. He allowed 0 runs on only 3 hits. He walked 2 and struck out 4. All 4 were on the Ghost Fork. The trio of Reed Garrett, AJ Minter, and Edwin Diaz blanked the Cardinals for the final 3 innings. Diaz picks up his 5th save. Juan Soto was 2 for 4, a run scored and an RBI. He also picked up his 2nd stolen base of the season. Pete Alonso was 2 for 4 as well, with 2 RBIs and a run scored while hitting his 6th home run of the season. Sterling Marte and Brandon Nimmo each were 1 for 4. And Luis Angel Acuna, getting the start second base against the lefty, was 1 for 3. He doubled and scored a run. So crisp, clean game for the Mets. Great pitching, some timely hitting, and good defense. The Mets win this one 3-0. They're up 3-0 this 4-game series. They go for the sweep tomorrow, Easter Sunday, with Clay Holmes making the start for the Mets, going up against Sonny Gray for the Cardinals. Game time is set for 1:40 p.m. Eastern. I'll be back to recap the game and provide any other noteworthy Mets news. But until then, Mets fans, let's go Mets.